You're watching FlightTV, the very first release of a totally new public show made for people who are really into flying. The Russian winter is fading, pilots start thinking of their airfields again, and now we're back with our show. The sponsor of this release is the Urevskoe Company, which continues the mass production of the La-8 amphibious flying boats and the development of the two-seater Bore airplane. Alexander Shvidkin is in the studio with you again. Hi everybody. Winter Fly-In. The Russian Federation of Aviation lovers held its festival at Urevskoe Airfield. The first sip, a Russian private pilot decided to go for a flight in a business jet. Welcome, rookie. In the Chechen Republic, local aviation enthusiasts have developed and assembled their first home-built airplane. One more killed in action. How and why the Russian government is shutting down the oldest national pilot school. Aviation news. Urevskoe research company in Moscow successfully tested an ejection seat fit for sport and hobby airplanes with glass canopies. The chronic problem of prohibitive weight of an ejection seat structure is finally solved. The new system evacuates the pilot and the passenger without seats. In a rare event of an emergency, a 6-foot telescopic rod driven by compressed air breaks the glass and thrusts the pilot and his parachute out of the cockpit. The belt is automatically released. Once having accelerated and released the pilot, the system pulls out the ripcord handle of his parachute. The cost and availability of the system have yet to be announced. Radio Electronic Technologies Concern has handed over to the Russian Air Force several units of the radio electronic warfare system Urevskoe AV, which in Russian means lever. Built on board the Mi-8 helicopter, this system is able to protect groups of aircraft, ground material, and ships from aerial and air defense strikes at a distance of several hundred miles. The system incorporates only Russian-made components, has no rival in the whole world, and is fit to be installed on all types of aircraft, ships, and ground vehicles. In 2015, the Russian armed forces will purchase 18 Urevskoe systems worth $200 million. The International Rotary Wing Beauty Picture Contest is going on. This is the 8th contest organized by the Russian Helicopter Industry Association. The competition is open to all. Just choose one of 4 categories, make a high-resolution photo on the chosen topic, and invent a title. Last year, the contest attracted 585 pictures made by 97 photographers from 7 countries. The voting is carried out by the public at www.helicopter.su. The pictures will be accepted until the 21st of April. Voting stops on the 27th of April. The final winner will be elected by internet voting. The award ceremony will be held on May 23, 2015 at the Heli Russia 2015 International Helicopter Show. The most popular, proven, and reliable amphibian flying boat in Russia. Certified structure, extreme simplicity of mastering and flying, super short takeoff and landing distances, just 230 feet. Negligible cost of spare parts and maintenance, less than $30 per flight hour. Very attractive purchase price, just $80,000 for a brand new airplane. The Russian Federation of Aviation lovers now and again attracts the attention of the Russian private pilots community with festivals and celebrations. Last weekend, they organized a Winter Aerofest dedicated to the 70th anniversary of the victory in World War II. Valery Chusov has more about this. The skies of the Tver region were ripped to pieces by a World War II dogfight. A Yak-52 with red stars on the wings shot down the enemy aircraft. This air duel was part of the World War II reenactment and the Aerofest held at Urevskoe Airfield and was dedicated to the 70th anniversary of our victory. Aerofest is a very rare thing during the Russian winter, so we render due honor to the Russian Federation of Aviation lovers for being the first who undertook such a venture. The festival was a success. We are the first in the history of the FAL who dared to hold such an event in the middle of winter. There were quite a few difficulties with the aircraft and weather, but our guest described the event as being fun and a success. Bad weather forced us to make changes in our flight program and organization, but even what we finally managed to show was received with great pleasure. The flight program was composed of flights of several airplanes belonging to different air clubs. The real hit was the Yak-32 single-seat jet trainer. There were only 3 units built by the Soviet aviation industry in the middle of the 1960s. Now you can see one of them at Urevskoe Airfield. The plane was piloted by Maxim Mironov, who personally restored it to airworthy condition. The audience was impressed, although the low cloud cover on that day did not allow Max to show all the wonderful features of his flying machine. Pilots of piston planes had a bit less trouble. Their speeds are lower. Alexander Anoshko from Urevskoe Airfield did a Yak-52 aerobatic show at extremely low altitude. A Yak-18T was flown by Andrei Volkov, the pilot who made more than 100 landings at the North Pole. The Federation of Sport Gliding was also there with a PZL-104 Vilga towed airplane piloted by Ilya Yershov. There was another exquisite airplane, a Romanian-made IAR-823 flown by Dmitry Sukharev from KVS Air Club. In the World War II dogfight reconstruction, this IAR-823 played the role of a Luftwaffe fighting aircraft, struggling against a Yak-52 acting as a Soviet fighter. Despite the rough weather and the long way to the airfield by a winter road, the festival became a real event for hundreds of people from Tver, Moscow, and outskirts. Today we ventured for a trial, a winter airfest. There were more than 2,000 visitors who came to watch the show. There were 8 airplanes, some got stuck in the snowstorm. The local government provided full support to the airfest. We support this event that was organized on the threshold of the Great Victory Day. The Suvorov Cadet School is here. We stand for general aviation. At this airfield, we are going to have more popular events. We are going to make another World War II combat reenactment on the 7th of May, just on the eve of Victory Day. Our great victory was born here in 1941. This air festival opens the list of FAL events for 2015. The Federation will rise whatever happens. FAL is aimed to have regional airfest in those regions where our branches exist. The airfield network is growing. Airfields get more and more convenient. This won't stop. We want to make our activities apparent at all these events. We do it for private pilots. The Winter Festival proved to be a hard task. We'll learn from it. We'll see how to do it in other places and what the weather should be. Congratulations to all Winter Airfest participants and spectators. It was a great event and we thank you. Even bad weather was no obstacle for you. Valery Chusov, Alexander Moiseev, FlightTV. Despite the crisis, Russian private aviation still grows. The fleet was recently reinforced with 2 newcomers. In the Moscow region, the first private business jet got Russian registration, and in Chechnya, the first home-built airplane was developed and assembled. Now Russia has its first purely private business jet. The owner has bought it for exclusively personal use. A Cessna Citation 501 was purchased by a person just for flying it as a private pilot without registering an operator. This is quite unusual. Normally people fly business aviation as passengers or commercial pilots. There are a few private pilots in Russia with their own business jets, but all of them keep the aircraft abroad and never fly in the motherland. The Cessna's 7-seat passenger cabin has a small kitchen, coffee machine, and lavatory. The actual cruise speed of the aircraft is 360 knots. The range is 1,560 miles. Practical ceiling is 35,000 feet. By all appearances, GA aircraft are going to start flying at high levels in Russia soon. Design engineer Pakhrudin Musayev graduated from Grozny's Petroleum Institute as a designer of industrial machines, and he has always had a dream of developing something different, an automobile or a skimmer craft. Finally, the first thing he made was an aircraft. Pakhrudin took a sample design and drawings from general aviation and model plane builder magazines, as well as from some Russian internet forums. The body truss is made of 25mm stainless steel tubes. The wing is made of wood, based on the schematics of the BRO-11 glider. It was a hard task to find aviation plywood in Russia, so the guys used ordinary plywood. The aircraft is powered with a normal Rotax 912 and has a minimal set of instruments. It has no name yet. Pilot Hasanbek Hashayev has made first test runs and straight hops. Now the Chechens team is to carry out regular flight tests and get an airworthiness certificate. The video from Chechnya was provided by Shamkhan Sagaipov. Many thanks, Shamkhan. FlightTV will further try to discover such interesting news of light and private aviation, but Russia is so huge that we need your help in this. If you happen to know something interesting for aviation lovers or simply film something of aviation life, just send it to FlightTV. Nowadays a camera can fit in the pocket, as most mobile phones have cameras. We tend to prefer TV from real people, and we welcome any aviation news provided by our spectators. It would be a common situation if a private pilot or air club breaks some rule and his license is withdrawn by the government administration. Recently it became clear that the Russian Aviation Administration tends to break rules. The certificate of UTC Avia 22 pilot school was suspended in August of last year. With more about that RAA case against UTC Avia and an assessment of the legitimacy of such a suspension, here is our story from Bykovo town in the Moscow region. The so-called Civil Aviation Training Detachment No. 22 is one of the oldest Russian pilot schools. Established in March of 1956, it was reorganized into a joint stock company in the early 1990s to continue training, retraining, and upgrading of pilots, cabin crews, and technical staff for civil airplanes and helicopters. Some years ago, UTC Avia 22 opened its doors for private pilots of the Russian Yak-18 and Italian Tecnom airplanes and the Me-2 Robinson R-44 and Eurocopter EC-120 helicopters. After that, the RAA suddenly started persistently inspecting the school all of the time. Unwarranted inspections started with no reason. In December 2013, the RAA resorted to the prosecutor's office. In January, the inspection of transport supervisors. In March, a non-regular inspection by the RAA again. In June, one more inspection by the RAA. 4 non-regular inspections of a pilot school in just half a year. Who could sustain such an assault? Yevgeny Lobachev is not a newcomer in Russian aviation. He held some serious official posts in the RAA before, but even he isn't sure how to fight back. One more inspection in July. I personally know the inspectors from my previous job. They were all my subordinates before. I say, guys, you're breaking the law. It is unlawful to make non-regular inspections by the RAA. It's prohibited by written law. Only a transport supervisor can do this. They say, we know, but Mr. Alexander Neradko, the head of the RAA, ordered us to inspect you and to dig up some deficiencies. As a result of that 4th non-regular inspection, the RAA suspended the license of the school. Yevgeny took the case to an arbitration court, but his adversary undertook another unexpected action. When we went into the court, they filed a criminal case against me personally as the general director of the school. They started searches in my apartment, in my country house, in the apartments of my deputy, in my office, day and night, all night long, till 3 o'clock in the morning. Every 20 minutes they called somebody on the mobile phone to report what they had found. They found nothing. They counted all my money, they took my computers with them, they took all our statutory documents, our stamps, they just paralyzed our work. Yevgeny filed a case against unlawful proceedings, but the defendant, the prosecutor who has initiated proceedings against Yevgeny, was not able to present the judge any formal documents. The criminal case against me is unlawful too. They impute unlawful, not licensed training of aviation staff, but this activity is not prohibited by law. Above that, the training of aviation staff is not in the list of business activities subject to be licensed. There is a rumor in the Russian pilot community that UTC Avia 22 became one of the numerous victims of the run of intense inspections initiated by the RAA after the fatal crash of a Boeing 737 in Kazan, killing all passengers on board, including one son of a powerful Russian politician. The pretext for the repeated inspections of UTC Avia 22 was another crash, the aborted takeoff of a Yak-42 business jet that killed the whole locomotive ice hockey team in the city of Yaroslavl in 2011. The pilot crew of that unfortunate Yak was trained in the very UTC pilot school. That crash of a Yak happened 3 years ago, and the RAA only now starts proceedings against us. They take all of our documents for the last 3 years, all the financial documents of the company. It is not a secret that the unfortunate Yak crew was having the first day of an upgrading course in our school when their Yak operator recalled them just for that flight in which they got killed. I was in the RAA. I spoke with their boss. I asked for an explanation. I said, if I am personally an obstacle, I am ready to go, but do not stop training. He said, no, this is not the reason. Just correct the situation. And the inspections continue. After the detailed analysis of the situation, the administration of the school came to a conclusion which might look a bit exotic, but in fact is not rare in Russia. Suddenly we realized that the problem is simple. Our company owns the buildings of the training center, the hotel, the boiler house, and 4.5 acres of land. The land is not yet privatized, but belongs to the company. The official government cost of this land is $1.5 million, but if we apply for privatization, we have the right to pay only 2.5% of that amount. So now one can get this land for small money and then sell it to the market, which will give them already $5 million as a commercial price. So they wanted to stop our business, make us go bankrupt, and then buy it for little money. If we take Yevgeny's version as warranted, this explains everything. The land in Bykovo, a town very close to Moscow, is in high demand now as a good place for the development of private villages. This problem is a double-edged weapon, and we are trying to turn it the other way, but frankly we haven't succeeded so far. In his pilot school, Yevgeny organized seminars with the purpose of training operators of pilot schools, air clubs, and private pilots how to withstand and survive in such situations, how to work with the RAA, Transport Inspection, Ministry of Transport, how to prepare documents, file a case in a court, and so on. The UTC pilot school license for educational services is still effective, so they are not going to give up. And we are going to insist on the comment of the Russian Aviation Administration to report it to you in one of our following issues. Yevgeny Maximov, Alexander Moiseev, FlightTV. Urevskoe Company, the builder of the industrial La-8 amphibious flying boats, goes on with its activities. The first buyers of Urevskoe's new two-seat amphibian Borei airplane will get them by next fall for only $85,500. The one who buys a La-8 will get a Borei as a bonus. There is always a place for a second aircraft, isn't there? If you enjoyed this release, put your likes on Facebook. We are eagerly waiting for your comments on the contents of our show and your suggestions for following issues. Flight TV is the people's show, and everyone is most welcome with your proposals and invitations. Now, as always, for dessert, our usual no comments column. Technical progress will never stop. In France, they made a so-called drone hunter. Now, we bet on a super drone against this French drone hunter.
Родные ветры вслед за ним летят. Любимый город в синей дымке тает. Знакомый дом, зеленый сад и нежный взгляд. Любимый город в синей дымке тает. Знакомый дом, зеленый сад и нежный взгляд. Пройдет товарищ все бои и войны, не зная сна, не зная тишины. Любимый город может спать спокойно и видеть сны, и зеленеть среди весны. Любимый город может спать спокойно и видеть сны, и зеленеть